This video is brought to you in conjunction with Black Labrador Creations, but more from them later.
Now, literally time to flesh out the models. See what I did there. So this time we're going with the Kizlar flesh. Of course, any sort of skin colour will do. It's fairly light. Let's put a little of that on here. And very small areas on the models. Skin areas, so we're not going to be going too mad on these. Now, of note, the sergeant and the officer here would actually be wearing gloves. Part of their uniform, so we're not going to do the hands on them. So if you look really closely, let's see if we can get in close on this one. How's that? There we go. You see, they actually have got faces sculpted on, so you can actually see eyes and noses. What I'm going to do is that you almost make like a U shape. We're going to go along here and then along the nose like that. So it almost leaves the black undercoat in the eyeball area, the eye socket area. And that will give a little bit of an impression that they've got faces and shade there, because it's so small it doesn't really show. And I noticed we got a little bit of skin tone on the musket barrel there. Again, not a problem, we're just going to tidy that later. So let's do the drummer's hand and his hand here, and this chap's hand and there. And again, there's no skin or tone to do at the rear of these models, so we'll just go along. Again, we can always do one hand, or the same hand, the same part of the sculpt, if we wish. And again, where the yellow has sort of crept in it there, we can sort of put those together a bit like that. And let's go. Face, again, we're probably going to brush over onto the musket barrel as we do this, just because of the size of the miniature. That's not a big problem for this. Just brush it lightly over. There we go. And you see, from a distance, we're starting to really flesh out a lot more. Let's wiggle the painting strip along a little. Face, face, face. Just load up a little more paint there. Again, keep just a little twist of the brush in the paint just to keep the point nice and pointy, which is the point of having a pointy point. And after this, we really do only have a couple of other little stages still to do, and they're again very small details and tidying to do. A bit more paint needed there, it's a little bit washed out on his face. And almost like a U shape around the cheeks and chops, and just down on the nose area, avoiding the eye socket. And that little, oops, don't mess that one up, never mind. Again, with this many models, one or two not quite go the way you wanted to. Doesn't really matter en masse. There might end up being a rear rank model who you wouldn't see the face of anyway. The better ones you can have the front rank. All the good looking ones to the front. And well, there we have it. Next stage complete. On to the next one.
1775. The colonies are in turmoil. Will you swear loyalty to the crown or fight for liberty? The fate of a nation is in your hands. Loyalty or Liberty, the immersive new strategy game from Black Labrador Creations, brings the American Revolution to life through deep tactical card play. Command legendary leaders, outmaneuver your opponent, and shape history one decision at a time. Every card is a pivotal moment. Deploy forces, rally support, or sabotage your enemy's plans. Will you master the art of war, or be swept away by the tides of revolution? The battle lines are drawn. Choose your side and rewrite history. Get Loyalty or Liberty now at blacklabradorcreations.com.
Now this next stage, nice and quick, we're literally going to do a little bit of wood, like a dark brown in this case. I mean, you could use a lighter brown if you wanted. This might actually fade away into the model a little. But we're going to use this to do the butt of the musket. So there's just a small amount of brown just underneath here. And we're just going to go along and pick those out. Now you could do this and you could go along with a lighter brown as well, just to give a little more definition. Or you could start off with a slightly lighter brown if you wanted, but really over the top of the black we've already got, this is going to look fine for the sort of walnut, warm walnut brown look that the brown bess that the British soldiers will be carrying had. And that's literally all we need to do for that. Whilst we're here, let's do the metal. So we'll carry on with the metals on these, and then we'll do final little details on the command stand just to really make them pop out. So let's swap over to our iron breaker, and this is also going to slightly neaten up the areas where we went over with the skin tone. So again, a little on the palette there, put that away, and we're actually going to sort of almost turn it, and we're just going to draw the paint, as it were, along the musket barrel, and then we're just going to do like a separate bit on the bayonet, just so again we leave a little black area between musket barrel and bayonet, just so you can pick out the detail. It just lets it pop a little bit more. As you see, we're just going over those areas where we hit it with the skin tone. That will help tidy those bits up. We can just do that as we're going along. And then we'll go along the backs of all these muskets and bayonets, just to get all the detail in. Sorry if we're fading in and out. We're trying to keep it in focus. As you imagine, the Space Marine was quite a big one to do, but these caps are a little bit smaller, so I do need to just try and make sure you can see what it is I'm actually doing as I'm painting them. But you can see again how very quick it is just to move along and just use like almost the underside of the point of the brush, just to brush upwards and get the detail on like that. Over here, and then we're going to go over the back and just tidy those up, and they should be ready. So I'm going to load up a little more on here, and you've got a couple of options. I'm going to just go along the edges, hold it on the edges here, and go along this bit, just on the top, just to pick out the tips of their bristling bayonets. I'm going to be careful not to get it on the bare skin if possible, and just go all the way along. Now, of course, you could also do on the inside here. I'm going to leave the inside just black, just to give it a bit of shade and a bit of variation and definition. Again, you can just sort of lightly brush these, like that. Yep, just run the brush along a few at a time. You can also sort of brush along like that to get the paint on where it needs to go. A little bit off there. Just pick out some of those. A little bit watery there, but I'm just going to load it up a little thicker. Apply it on like that, and that's looking quite neat and tidy from the back. A few here just need a little tidy, maybe bring it round a little bit more. Just so they look nice and uniform. That's the rear of them. Now, what we could also do at this stage is the cap plates. Now, on the front of that cap, they had a big white metal plate engraved with royal crest and various honours of war on it and stuff. Quite an intense piece of engraving. On the miniature, of course, you can see it's a very flat area. So we're just going to do a little bit of a light dry brush of the metallic paint. Well, this is just going to put a little bit like that, just to indicate that there is something metallic there. Now we do it on the drummer. Now the officer may well have gold or brass. Again, depending on the regulations of the army, if you're certain colours, then it would be certain whether white or gold buttons indicating either sort of silvery metal or gold and brass. So we're going to just go along all these guys here, just a little dab. Again, we're not actually sort of painting it on, we're almost just dry brushing a little on, a few little splodges, just to give the impression, because it was basically like a lacquered metal, so it would have been like a black background and metal highlights itself. We might be able to get a picture of a Grenadiers plate to upload here and to demonstrate what it looks like, but that's just the general impression that we're giving there. You see, it's all looking quite fearsome for the moment. Alright, any other silvery bits? I don't see any at the moment. What we might do is just pick out the details now for the officer. We may just tidy up the back a little as well, and maybe put a couple of random other colours just to give some different hair colours. So maybe a couple of blondes knocking about in the rear ranks there.